2018 saw the emergence of the Every Frame a Pause podcast, or EFAP, and with it saw many viewings of silly arguments and a plethora of memorable memes. I'm looking at you, Rhino Milk. But in 2019, the first full year of EFAP, we saw a witness to just as many memeable moments. And thus, it seemed like a good idea to take a look back at some of the best that this wacky show has had to offer. You may disagree with some of the choices, but just remember, that's subjective, which means I can't be wrong. But in all seriousness, I probably missed out on some good ones, so leave them in the comments. And now, the top 10 EFAP memes of 2019, in my opinion. Number 10, Slice and Dice from EFAP number 25. Major League has to be commended for several reasons, not only for encouraging us all to look at women, but for being one of a handful of EFAP subjects that actually show up for some debate. And thankfully, he did, because otherwise, we would not have gotten him describing how he wanted to shout Slice and Dice in the theater after Kylo killed Snoke, in a real ripoff of Return of the Jedi. So distinct was this, that Mahler would later adapt this phrase with the addition of brothers to encourage prosperity in the audience. Number 9, What'd You Bring Me? From EFAP Mini Batwoman S01E04. Batwoman is a televisual program that has offered a lot of insanity in the few months it's been airing. From crappy music, questionable approaches to social justice, and a villain that keeps getting away with murder because the protagonist didn't feel like arresting her. It's the kind of craze that even the Joker would be taken aback by. And yet, amongst all of this, the moment where Batwoman's dad slams down a laptop and asks Batwoman's ex-girlfriend what he has been brought would end up becoming the quintessential meme of this series of videos. Not since Christian Bale in The Dark Knight Rises, praised by the renowned Chris Stuckman, has a line delivered with such grit been so damn memey. Number 8, Jeb from EFAP number 59. During the stream set to cover Jenny Nicholson's Joker video, which was like totally 11 hours, guys, Wolf brought up the renowned political figure Jeb Bush. This would spur several Medea-esque movie title puns, but it would also generate the theory that there was a little Jeb inside Jenny's mind that had gotten tired of running around in the wheel powering her mind, which may be the only thing to explain some of the nonsense that had emerged in that video. Number 7, 1.2 billion from EFAP number 50. The great Tonal Loke is no stranger to EFAP. Only a man so odd and yet so brilliant could enlighten us on artificial barriers of blockage and the horrific nature of cooked carrots. But perhaps the most addictive meme he's generated comes from his disbelief that gamers would spend such an insane amount of money on gaming. And this is definitely one case where Slow and Steady wins the list. Number 6, Y-Wings from EFAP number 47. Much like Tonal, Just Right is a pillar of EFAP, enlightening us on reader response theory, but his most iconic moment of the year emerged in a video attempting to disprove objectivity. Gosh, wonder who he was aiming for there. Bringing up the infamous bomber scene from Star Trek The Last Jedi, he attempted to defend Rian Johnson's choice to have the rebellion, resistance, whatever, using those big-ass bomb ships instead of the pre-established Y-Wings. While his attempt to disprove objectivity throughout the video was pretty weak sauce, the point that stood out the most was his claim that
most people do not know what a Y-Wing is.
An argument so baffling and insulting to the audience's intelligence, I apparently felt the need to write down my reaction to it months before EFAP covered the video. But of course, it was Wolf's rant about it afterwards that solidified this as a line to remember, with the cherry on top being that the Y-Wings would return in The Rise of Skywalker just to show that right was wrong. One of the few highlights of that film. Number 5, What Makes Good Rat from EFAP number 47. Since EFAP began, many important questions and critical discourse have been raised. Is objectivity possible? What is the value of lore? Is water wet? But one of the most vital emerged when Brown Table posed the question, what makes good art? However, due to questionable font choices, an even more important question was raised. What makes good rat? We may never know, but it has been fun to say, and the term good rat has since been used to describe works of high quality, including various bits of fan art and memes. Number 4, The Hate Mongers of the Toxic Brood from EFAP number 29. Great work is not always appreciated in its day, and the community of EFAP has been called a lot of things in the relatively short time it's been around, many of which are pretty hyperbolic, hypocritical, or contradictive. But perhaps one of the more ironically enduring statements describing the podcast and the fans is when some guy called AJ Caraballo 95 decreed that those who would dare encourage negativity for The Last Jedi were in fact part of a toxic brood. The name has since been used as a badge of pride as EFAP continues its assaults of verbal terrorism and hate-mongering on the internet. Number 3. Islay of Man from EFAP number 54. Truly, it can be the most random of things that end up creating memes. After a stream looking at Quentin with a very sleepy Aiden Paladin, Mahler was encouraged to take a look at the flag for the Isle of Man, a locale not often mentioned. Having been exposed to the awesome Welsh flag for most of his life, his shock and surprise at seeing this three-legged monstrosity be the symbol of a people led to one of the most intense bursts of cackling from the gas-masked one, which would solidify this as a flag to remember. Number 2. Long Man Bad from EFAP number 22. After covering enough takes, sometimes you just need a phrase to sum up the majority of the arguments you see, and a look at Jack Saint provided one. While he may claim to the contrary, many of the arguments in his Mahler takedown ultimately amount to being pretty basic, without much strong evidence, particularly when it came to how length was a primary issue of badness. And thus, the popular Orange Man Bad meme, used to condense basic generic arguments against that one guy Quentin hates, was adapted into Long Man Bad. Not only has this provided a quick way to show distaste for certain cheap strawman arguments directed at EFAP philosophy and long videos in general, but Long Man would become one of Mahler's most enduring nicknames. Honorable mentions. Sword-like Weapon from EFAP number 50. BIGIDEAS, also from EFAP number 50. The Orphan Question from EFAP number 32. Tywin Lannister, Apex Homosexual from EFAP number 48. Although almost anything from the remarkable Republican part of that episode could probably make it in. And a late edition, and a would-be potential contender for a place in the main list if it had come out earlier, from EFAP number 67, we have African Americans being replaced by Ewoks. And now, number 1, The Dawn from EFAP number 36. When the deleted scene of Captain Marvel entering that one guy on the motorcycle from Captain Marvel was revealed, the internet was divided. Some were quite appalled that a hero would use such force on a dude. Some were encouraging, and some just didn't care much either way, much like the film. But through the EFAP lens, the truth was discovered, that the motorcycle guy, shown to be called the Dawn, was in fact the most noble, selfless, and awesomest hero of the Marvel Cinematic Universe. It was revealed that his seeming sexism was merely a sign of him showing signs of positivity, despite his tragic past. Yet in spite of various setbacks, the Dawn worked to help orphans and charities to make the world a better place. For this, he has been granted the official title of God of EFAP and has made the number 1 spot in this list. Here's to more worthy memes in 2020.